Wow. I am mind blown.
I'm still swimming on the bottom,
I
trying to
was
catch up.
I could you could tell that you were definitely on the bottom because we didn't hear much of you. I heard a couple of bubbles over there, and that was
Bloop,
about it.
bloop. Dude, I was just sitting here. I literally jotted down like notes, some shit that I want to apply out here and see if it works in the rivers. Uh, just like I said, the offshore thing, the saltwater thing has never been my area of expertise. So every time you guys get down that rabbit hole, I'm a sponge. I just suck that shit in. So that way I don't look like a complete idiot when I get up there in a couple of weeks to go do it.
Absolutely. And I mean, what's your thoughts on it, man? Like where are you at? What did you take away from all this? I mean, I know that it was kind of like deep in conversation, and you have two very active, hardcore saltwater fishermen talking back and forth, and then we probably couldn't get a word in edgewise, but
No, dude. It honestly, it just got me like even more fucking jacked up. Like every time we talk about it, I get like a little more and a little more anticipation and like ready to go. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go. I want to see what you guys are seeing because what I've done, pulling on 50 pounders out, you only see that with catfish out here, and even then, that's pretty rare. So you guys are talking about, oh yeah, we'll slay 5, 6, 7 of them in a night. I'm like, I want a piece of this. This sounds fun. So
yeah, it definitely does get crazy. I
yeah,
mean, especially in some of the areas, I mean, that load down with some of these big fish, man, it gets intense and it gets fast paced and you never know what's gonna happen and the fight is there. I mean, a lot of it's we're fishing light tackle. As Gabe said, I mean, 40-pound braid is nothing. I mean, on a what would be for you would be like a heavy bass rod.
right.
Um, we're fishing, 7, 6 foot medium heavy to heavy action rods, fast tips. That's what we're fishing, dude. And I would fish the similar rod to what I'm fishing up here is something that I would fish in some of the big waters down by you.
Gotcha. No, man, I'm jacked. Like I said, you know me well enough by now to know that, if it's something new to dive into and go try it, I'm all about it. So luckily, I don't live as close to the water as you, or my wife would probably hate me because I'd pick up another expensive hobby.
Oh, it gets nuts, dude. It definitely gets expensive and, especially going through plastics and you're fishing every day or baits or whatever the case may be, and then it's rods and reels because when you're using, I mean, as you know, with hunting gear, man, like, you get what you pay for. When you're using cheap shit, you get cheap shit. When you use good stuff, you get good stuff, so
Exactly.
and especially you start catching some of these big fish, you're burning out reels and rods, and I mean, it gets expensive,
Eh,
but it's worth it.
yeah. Could be worse. You could be
It could
spending it on drugs.
it could be way worse, right? Ugh. I think
uh,
it's my anti-drug. I mean, fishing is like one of those things that kind of saved me. I mean, starting at such a young age, and that's what all I cared about. I was like a crack fiend. All I cared about was fishing from such a young age, and I think it's kind of one of those things that kind of like saved my life. You see a lot of people, I've been saying it a long time that I grew up with that kind of went down the wrong path. And I always look forward to the weekends of going hunting and fishing. So I think that those things are what saved me. Speaking of drugs, I don't know why I just went on that tangent, but yeah,
no,
sorry.
it's true. It's what it does. I A lot of people can definitely attest to that. A lot of people have used it to get out of it and away from it. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's a drug of its own. I mean, something like, when you get a big fish on it, you set the hook and then you got that jerk, that fight. That in itself's a rush. I mean, it's the same difference as, pulling the trigger on a bird or, letting that arrow fly. There's a rush that comes with that anticipation, that setup, and then when it's all said and done, just that flood of emotion. So why not do something that you can repeat it with every cast?
No, I'm totally with you, and I think that's like that's Gabe's drive is fishing, dude. That dude fishes more than anybody I've ever met in my life, 7 days a week. It's hard to get him on a podcast, um, just
Yeah, yeah, we've been trying for 2 weeks now.
just because of fishing. I mean, the only thing that saved us to get on tonight with him was the rain
Yeah,
that moved in,
that
and
storm that
kinda kept
rolled
them
up
off the
there.
water. Yeah, so but it's definitely been, it's been a long time coming. I'm glad we were able to do it because I think it's something that needs to be heard is, these baits need to get out in these people's hands.
Well,
They
yeah,
need to know
that
what the hell's going on.
and from my perspective, coming from, back where I do on the West Coast, the South, Midwest, or even here where I am on the East Coast, but in the mountains, you don't ever hear people talk about this kind of stuff. So it's cool to bring a different perspective of fishing. It's not just, hey, this is the way I use topwater bass, or this is how I use this reel, or, you know, it's a whole different type for a lot of people. So that's going to be exciting. The other thing is it's nice because as turkey season's wrapping up in a lot of places right now, fishing is the thing that people are going to be
Hey, watch your
looking
mouth.
forward to next. Hey, look, it's true. Sadly, trust me, no one's more hurt than I am right now. But I mean, not like you care. Hell, you're almost tagged out. This was last year, you'd be tagged out.
Mm, yes, sir.
Why don't you walk us through that a little bit?
Um, so our season still goes until the end of the month. So we have until the end of the month to turkey hunt also. But no, things kind of got a little crazy here. Today, Friday, we I say we. I hunted by myself today. Captain Mike actually was out scouting last night. Because we decided we were going to roost birds. We had to move to some new public and try and find some new birds, and we had to roost. So we roost separately. And I went in. I found birds. I had 5 birds gobbling this last night, and so I called up Captain Mike and I was like, "What's going on, buddy?" I said, he goes, I could tell he was like distraught, and like in pain. I'm like, "Dude, what's up?" He's like, "Bro, I just rolled my ankle." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I think I broke my ankle." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, dude." He goes, I literally I rolled my ankle really bad and it's not good. I could barely make it back to the truck." Long story short, he went to the walk-in and had a really bad sprain, and he's going to be down for some time, and it might even actually mess with our trip to the Allagash, the North Woods. That's how bad his ankle is. So kind of sucks. Um, but it is what it is. I hope he feels better and gets better soon. But
Definitely,
so
that sucks to hear.
it's totally it ruins a lot, but it is what it is.
Well,
So
you
on a positive.
capitalized at least.
Yes. So on the positive end of it, so those 5 birds that I had found, I got in this morning and things were a little crazy. I hit the call, did a couple tree yelps, and then it was like 5:10 after 5. I did some tree yelps. By 5:20, I had I just heard, and I'm like, what the hell? And I turned to my right. There's a big strutter. He's strutting
Jeez.
next to me. It was so early that I had to look at my clock and look up what time sunrise was to make sure I was in legal shooting light. That's how early it was. I was like, "You gotta be kidding me. We can shoot at 5:06." It was like 5:16 or 5:26 when I shot that bird. Um, Wicked early, couldn't believe it. He's just strutting on a rock, wouldn't come over the stone wall, back and forth, back and forth. Finally, I just said, "You know what? It is what it is." And I just turned and I shot him off the rock. So I go and I grab him and I'm sitting there and I'm all happy and I'm texting everybody and I hear a gobble in the distance. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Really? And I know that those were the birds that I was actually working. These birds came down from the bird that I shot came from the valley and came in. But the other birds that I was actually working, they were still there. They were a ways away, but they were still there. So I hit the call again and they lit up. Hit the call again, they lit up. And then one was even closer. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So this was over an hour's time. So I took my time and I called, very slowly and, very quietly, kind of more like that guessing game, working that bird real hard. And one was real close. He came right over the stone wall. He came in and I just let him have it. I should have, now looking at the footage, I should have let him get a little bit closer because he probably was, but I got really anxious and I really just wanted to shoot the double. So I shot him.
Hell
And he
yeah.
probably was going to come in, but I was just pumped up. So, That video is actually, as we speak, is going to be on the. It's already up on the YouTube page for the Outdoor Drive podcast. So if you go on YouTube and type in Outdoor Drive, you will find it.
Sweet. That's
So
awesome, man.
yeah, it was crazy, man. So that's tag number 3 filled for me. Tag 3 out of 5. So actually, if it was last year, I would be one over my limit because we were only allowed to shoot 2 on public land last year,
That's right.
3
Yeah.
on private. So but now we can shoot 5 across the board. So we'll be there. But hey, it's more. You know what? Now that I know that the fish are around, I might not even fill my tags. I might be just fishing.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Now I'm filling my tags.
I was gonna say, I mean, you still have to go after that one with the trad, and the rate you're going, you might as well just switch to it now.
Oh man. Yeah, I need to get one with the bow. The bow is next.
Yeah, I'm got a week left here, and got a hot tip on where a strutter's been every morning for the last week. Um, Gobbling has died here. I haven't heard a gobble since I think Monday. I'm sure they still are in some pockets, but not where I'm at. So I'm going to go down to where this old farmer said he's been watching a bird strut every morning. And I'm just going to take the boomstick out there and see if I can't finally get this monkey off my back.
Hell yeah, dude. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear about that. And
Well,
by this time, we will know if you had shot him or not.
yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. If it does happen, it's going to be quick and there's not going to be much of a story because as soon as he's in touchable range and I have a clear shot, he's going down. I'm not looking for a show. I'm not looking for film. I'm not looking for anything. If his head pops up and I can get the freaking beat on him, he's done. So that's my plan.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Well,
Fuck. I'm pumped for you, dude. It's gonna happen. Tomorrow's the day for you, bro. It's gonna happen.
if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's hunting. But I hope
No,
you're right.
that's no, no. The excuse of hunt. That's why we call it hunting. It's for people that suck at hunting.
How do you think I feel right now?
Sorry, sorry. I didn't
Dude, I
mean it
got
like
those
that.
pictures this morning and I'd been sitting in the woods and hadn't heard shit. And I looked down, I was like, oh, Trev's already doubled this morning and the sun's not even hardly up. I quit. Like, I'm
So
over
I was
this.
wondering why you didn't respond.
Yeah, I was packing my shit up and got the hell out of the woods. I was over it. But at the same time, there were also horses riding by. There were UTVs running around already, friggin'. You could hear all sorts of dumb shit going on all over the place. I think the birds have just been pressured and pushed out. And yeah, there are still some birds there. I didn't see any fresh sign like it was when you were here. Uh,
Really?
yeah, I mean, no, not a single
That's
fresh scratch
crazy.
anywhere. Uh,
Yeah.
Even went up to the Morel patch and nothing up there. There wasn't a fresh scratch anywhere on that whole hillside.
Wow.
So I'm pretty sure they've just been pushed out with all the pressure that's been going on between, recreational people and things like that. So I just figured I better start looking around. And luckily, this old boy reached out and said, hey, got a strutter down here and they don't turkey hunt. They're not interested, but he knows I do. And he's throwing me a lifeline.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
So we're going to get after it.
Oh yeah, dude.
Well,
Well, we
speaking of
should.
getting after it, let's thank a few people and then let's dive right in.
Hell yeah, dude. So I want to thank Nor'easter Game Calls, nor'eastergamecalls.com. Marky Mark up in Maine at Nor'easter Game Calls. Get them in close to get all your turkey pot calls, even your grunt calls. Man, we're gonna need those pretty
Yeah,
soon.
that time's coming quickly.
Your box calls, your little clucker, you name it. He's got some cool things. He just made the American Tom, which is actually sold, but some good stuff up there. Also Broadside Camo, broadsidecamo.com. Check them out. Get your Versalite series, your Versa series, your Ascender series, you name it, all of your camo needs, broadsidecamo.com. Use promo code Outdoor Drive. Also, Wicked Twisted Bowstrings, wickedtwistedbowstrings.com. Use the promo code Outdoor Drive 10. to save yourself some and get jillified with your custom bowstrings. Wild Edge Inc., the leader in mobile hunting, wildedgeinc.com. We don't have a promo code for them yet. Damn it. Yeah, whatever. Deathwish Coffee, deathwishcoffee.com. Use promo code OutdoorDrive10 to save yourself some on the world's strongest coffee, fueled by death. Deathcast with Amazing Jeff. Make sure to check them out. And also get over and get your coffee. All your coffee needs at deathwishcoffee.com. I don't have my list. Who else am I forgetting?
I'm trying to run it through my head right now.
The Hunter Site,
Yes, that's the big one.
huntersite.com.
Big things
There you
coming.
go. Huge things coming. We will actually be writing for them on their new website. They have new app coming out, some new pieces of their app, some free version, so on and so forth. We'll have him on soon, Bryce Stone, to talk about that. Huntersite.com. Go and check them out. Also, speaking of not a sponsor, but somebody close friend, brother of the podcast, Where to Hunt. If you don't have that app yet, you might want to go get it. Where to Hunt on in your app store and find out where everybody else is. Really badass app. So make sure you get out and you check that out.
I was impressed with some of the posts he put up the other day. How many people in the turkey woods are actually using it? You
A
know,
lot, and I think it's a safe way of doing it, man. I really enjoy it. I
yeah.
think the more people that use it, the better, obviously, like he says.
Oh yeah.
Um, but it definitely, I think it's badass. I think everybody should have it.
I 100% concur. Especially if you're going on to a new piece of public that you don't know anything about, and you go in and you can go, okay, I better not go there, and I better not go there, but this spot looks sweet and I don't see anyone there. You know, it may save you the time of walking up on someone or having someone walk up on you.
Absolutely, I totally agree, dude. I think that it's a great tool and it's definitely safe. I mean, how many of us, are out there turkey hunting? I mean, I've ran into 3 different people on public land, and it would be great to know exactly where they are, so I don't have to worry about them, and I don't have to worry about getting shot neither.
Exactly.
So what do you think, man?
Well, I think I'm ready to let my mind kind of settle back in and go back to the notepad.
All right, let's kick it off right.
All right, here we go.
Nice shot. Here comes a shooter. Shooter, big buck. Stag, stag, stag. We're back on the line with Gabe from Gravity Bait and Tackle. What's up, Gabe?
What's up, Trev? What's up, Steve? Thanks for
What's
having me.
going on, brother?
Thanks for
Say,
joining us,
say, look,
bro. I know it's
yeah,
it's 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 tough to get you off the water to come and hang out with us, but
Hey,
hey,
I paid the weatherman to make sure that rain came in hard today.
there you go. It worked. I haven't gotten the full itch yet. Like I'm not spending 24 hours a day on the water, but as soon as that temperature warms up, you already know how it's going to be.
oh yeah, I knew it was going to be hard to get you off this time of year when the first bass shows up and
Dude,
Gabe's on the water. It's over.
you
It's
gotta
not even
watch
that.
how you're saying shit.
Dude, I'm bagging up baits, jig heads. I got a new bait coming out in like 2 weeks. I mean, it's just been nonstop, dude.
Has it been that crazy for you, man? You're like really growing, like it's giant. You're all over the place. We're seeing you all over all kinds of different bait and tackle shops. I mean, is it getting that crazy for you?
Yeah, no, this whole Corona thing kind of stopped it in its tracks, type of thing. But the shops are slowly coming back around. Like all the shops that should have ordered by now, they're all calling me. They're all getting their orders in. I added right before the whole pandemic hit. I added 6 new shops, and it was going on a pretty big uphill percentage. And then we just kind of stopped with this whole Corona thing. hopefully everything will get back on track because everybody's itching, dude. Everybody's itching.
Yeah, once they start seeing pictures of big fish, it's on. Pandemic
Yeah,
or not, you know that the guys are gonna get back on the water, dude, and it's gonna turn to, something better.
exactly. I mean, I've been fishing the Hudson the past month, and there's tons of boats. Like they're already out there. Quarantine or not, they're out there fishing regardless.
And they're
So
starting to open up, the recreational boating and all that other
yeah,
stuff in other states. So things are definitely looking up, man. The only one that's kind of behind is the Rhode Island.
yeah. I got no
I
comment
know.
on that one. I got no
Yeah.
comment. I don't know. I don't know what she's thinking, man. Like you're allowed to go to Walmart and you're allowed to go to the grocery store where there's 100 million people, but you can't be on a boat with somebody else. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's crazy. I don't understand it. I don't get
Killing
it.
a lot of really good businesses up there, and it really sucks.
Yeah. Yep.
But it is what it is, man. Let's turn this key. Why don't you tell them who you are, where you're from, and what you do, man?
Hey, so I'm Gabe. I own Gravity Tackle. Currently, I'm out of New York State, looking to head south by the end of the year. Got to get out of here, man. Fed up with it. Uh, I make soft plastics. They are color changing. They've been catching everything in the Northeast and the Southeast: striped bass, bluefish, sea bass, marlin, tuna, snook, tarpon, and the list keeps growing every year, man. Just amazing how quickly this has happened.
So what made you come up with it, man? Like, where did this all start for you, and how did you get into this?
So honestly, it started out about money. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't really justify spending $50 a day on soft plastics. I love fishing them. I think they're the most realistic artificial out there. Uh, but when you're spending $50 in soft plastics and they're ripping on casts or they're ripping on short strikes and they're falling apart because the quality just isn't there, it got frustrating for me. And I started out with a gallon of plastisol with my buddy Jay out in Middlebury, and we just went to town. We made baits out of Bondo. We made baits out of plaster of Paris. Um, all those molds were just 10 cent, 20 cent molds, and we bought quarts and gallons of plastisol and tinkered and made new colors. And little by little, I got to figuring out that there's some plastics that are better than others, and a lot of trial and error. And gave some to friends. They gave some to friends, and next thing you know, they're begging for them, and here we go. It just kind of snowballed into itself.
And you've kind of like opened up to new things also because you have your jig heads, you have your swim hooks, you have your clips. You're not just plastics anymore.
Right, yeah. Guys were asking for terminal tackle, and I had the jig head to match the baits. I got the swim hook that fits perfectly on the 13.5 inch GT eel. It's actually going to fit perfectly on the new 9.5 inch version of that eel that I got coming in a couple weeks. I mean, every time I add a bait, I have to add something with it, and we're just slowly growing. I haven't made a single dollar. I've been doing this for 2 years, and I haven't kept a single dollar. It's all been pumped back into the business to try to keep it growing.
And I mean, that's a good thing that you came out with the terminal tackle because it's so hard to find some of those bigger hooks for those bigger baits that you do have.
It is. It's impossible. They're either too chintzy of a hook, or the hook is too big and it doesn't fit the bait. It doesn't fit the profile. Like it's crazy because in the past 10 years, like the market for soft plastics has changed tremendously. Like even 5 years ago, there wasn't a good soft plastic hook. There wasn't a good soft plastic jig head. You had to go to Walmart and buy like a hurricane jig head for like $2. You got like a pack of 10. But God forbid you hook into a 20, 30, 40 pound fish, you're gonna bend the hook. There wasn't any good options, and it's just been a really good 10 years. I think for guys who are hardcore soft plastic fishermen, the market's kind of turning around and making stuff for them, and that's kind of what I wanted to keep with Gravity, was to make baits and tackle and terminal tackle for the fishermen.
Yeah, because there's so many out there that are chintzy or they just don't stand up to the hardcore fishermen.
Right, exactly.
So what are some of the baits? Why don't you go through some of them that you actually offer and that you do make? Because
So right now I have one. It's a 13.5 inch eel. It's called the GT eel. It actually, in open water, it resembles more of a needlefish than an actual eel. The profile is almost identical to a needlefish in the water. When you're swimming it on a jig head, it's a very smooth profile. It's not a fat eel looking like thing, and they change colors. So I have these proprietary blend of colors. It's not dyes. It's not glitters. It's just some powders that I came across, and they're awesome, dude. They literally, you put them in the sunshine, you put them in the water. It's tough for me to take pictures on the website because they never look the same. So, and I can tell you the fish absolutely crush these things. I know I've been out with you a block a couple times, and the way they hammer these baits, bro, it's unbelievable. If your hand isn't, if you don't have a good grip on the rod, your rod's ending up in the water. You
And
know,
it's crazy. So why don't you go into like how you actually fish these things, because it's not something that's normal in the plastic world. Especially fishing some of the deeper waters or some of the reefs or and stuff like that. I know like surf casting is one thing, but the way that you fish them is totally different. And I think that a lot of people don't even understand how that actually works.
right? So I'm looking for the lightest jig head possible that can reach bottom. So say we're in 50 feet of water and there's a half a knot of current. I'm trying to find a half ounce jig head. It's going to take longer to hit the bottom. Um, and you just kind of let it hit the bottom and you give it a couple cranks and you basically dead stick with the tide. Um, you give it a couple light twitches of the rod. You don't want to like lift your hand 5 feet like some guys jig and twitch and pop. You literally just pop your wrists a couple times and hold on. Um, I mean, as the tide gets faster, you want to put on a heavier jig head so you don't have to keep scoping out to find bottom. Um, but yeah, man, that's pretty much our go-to method of fishing is just dead sticking right under the boat and letting the bait pretty much do the work.
And it's crazy how effective it is, man. Like even, we fished them right next to eels.
Yeah,
And the plastics will literally outfish the eels on some of these reefs.
yeah,
Or actually all the reefs, sorry. It's crazy how it actually works, man. And then even just surf casting them, I mean, we flip them up into the shallows and the rocks and stuff and just absolutely smoke fish.
yeah. And then we reverse surf cast on like the islands and the shorelines with any structure, rocks, docks, anything like that. Again, you find the lightest jig head possible, and you just give it a slow, steady retrieve with some twitches and pauses and pops, and man, they just when they hit it, they smash it, smash it.
It's totally crazy because I think it's not only have you opened up a world of different type of plastics, but a whole different world of fishing. Because I mean, how many people do you see at Block Island or Montauk or some of their small local reefs fishing plastics? It's unheard of, man.
Yeah,
Everybody's
not
three
many.
weighing or
Yep.
their egg sinker in or whatever, but they're nobody's using plastics.
No, everybody's got a live eel or a bunker or chunking or something.
And even when those fish are around, man, your baits are out fishing live bait. I mean, how does that even it's mind blowing to me, like, dude.
I wish I could tell you why. I wish I had some scientific explanation, but I don't, man. Just
So
it
so
just is,
even
bro.
so even like when you're fishing the Hudson right now. So the Hudson's
Yeah,
full of herring, right?
tons.
And you're out fishing herring with plastics?
In certain situations, up here in the Hudson's a totally different animal. The
Okay.
fish are up here to spawn, and so you get two types of fish. You get the fish that are up here to spawn, and then you get the fish that are up here chasing herring. Sometimes they'll intermix where they'll spawn, but they still have to eat. But for the most part, if you're catching stripers on plastics or artificials, they're there to eat. You know, up here you get one female for every 1,000 males, so it's really hard to hook into a big fat cow that's trying to lay her eggs, and she's surrounded by 100 males trying to inseminate her eggs. Fertilize her eggs. So up here is a totally different beast. The water is very dirty. It's very scent driven. Um, but I mean, I was out with my buddy Doc Z last week, and he said that I probably wasn't going to catch a single fish on an artificial, and within 20 minutes, we had a couple on the boat. He was just mind blown. But as far as out fishing them on the Hudson, that's a totally different beast, brother.
Yeah.
Totally different
Okay.
beast. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you still have a scent to your plastics also.
Yeah, I do. We actually switched up the scents from last year. I added a totally different brand. Not don't feel comfortable saying the brand. Just don't want to let
Okay.
it out there yet. But um, so last year I was using BioEdge, and we found that it got stale within a couple days, and it just got really rotten. Um, the bait, the baits themselves would smell, but they wouldn't smell anything that resented or resembled a fish or an eel or anything like that. So last year, towards the middle of the season, I actually started playing around with a couple different scents, a couple different mixtures, and I gave a couple baits full of that new scent to Tom Puccini and Danny Savage. They're both kayak guys. They both entered Striper Cup last year, and little did I know that they'd come in first and second place in the kayak division of the Striper Cup last year, and they were only using the new scent that I had last year. It was just kind of toying around with it.
Wow.
These guys caught. Fuccini had nine. His top nine fish came on purple GTs. His 10th fish came on a live bunker. And then Danny had seven out of his top 10 fish come on the purple GT eel as well. So that's what 16 out of 20 fish come first and second place with I don't know how many hundreds of kayakers registered for that tournament. But it was just pretty humbling seeing that happen, man. So for this year, all the baits coming to the bait shops and all the guys ordering on my website, the baits are sitting for 24 hours in an eel scent, in this really thick eel scent, and then right as I bag them, I'm adding a herring and I'm adding a squid scent as well. So you got three different attractants that are getting they're absorbing into the plastic. So when these guys are opening up the bags, I mean, a lot of times they're still oily. Uh, so some of the times the bags have been sitting there maybe a week or two, and all the oil doesn't seep out of the bag. It's in the bait, and it just slowly releases as you fish it.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
badass, dude. So you're just you're adding something completely crazy into the
yeah.
baits.
So now
And
the baits change color, and not only do they change color like a normal bait fish would, but they actually release a pretty nasty, potent eel, herring slash squid smell.
so now we're getting down to the science of it, why it's out fishing live bait.
He got a couple trains of thought on that, bro. I know there's a ton of people that say live bait, you're full of shit. It or scents are full of garbage that they don't do nothing. And then you got the other guys who say basically the complete opposite, that they work wonders. I'm not going to sit here and tell you one or the other because I don't know, but all I know is that the baits that I have dipped and sent outfish anything else that I use by a pretty big margin.
I mean, where you were at it before, and when we had fished them at Block or some of the other places that we fish, I didn't believe it at first. I was like, yeah, plastics, okay, yeah, yeah, whatever you say, man. You've seen it all, right? And then
Yeah.
you actually see it work, and it's like, holy shit. It doesn't
Yeah.
even make sense. I mean,
Yep.
sometimes in some of these, I mean, it could be the captain, I mean, you didn't know where the fish were, but um the
Yeah, but places like that, there's fish regardless. Like you're
right,
not going to not mark fish out there. It's just
right.
crazy.
But I mean, it's been tested time and time again against
Right.
live bait, and it produces, and
Right.
it's mind blowing. No matter when it's early spring, whether it's winter, whether it's summer, it doesn't matter. They constantly always producing.
Right.
Um, and
What I'm
at a
happy about is that it's finally not just coming out of my mouth. I got all my customers. I don't know if you've seen my Gravity Tackle Facebook and Instagram.
oh,
I don't
absolutely.
post. I don't post myself on there. I think I have once out of 400 posts. I've only posted myself on there once. I got all the customer photos. Or all the guys saying we outfish live bait. It's like I'm pretty sure guys thought I was nutso saying that last year, but seeing all the dudes, and I mean, I don't know these guys. I may have talked to them once on the internet or something, but I don't know who they are, and they're saying that stuff. It's just even to me, it's just humbling. It's awesome.
That is definitely is, and not even that, but you're out there every single day putting these baits to the test.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
you're
always trying
fishing
to
in
make them better,
tournaments.
dude. I'm always trying to make them better no matter what, whether it be the colors, the changing up the scents, changing around the plastic ingredients to make them last longer so they don't fall apart when you look at them like other baits do. Just I'm always tweaking, man. Always tweaking.
And even the strength of them too. I mean,
Yeah,
they last.
yeah, they do. I think the record so far on the 13.5 GT eel last year, I had personally was like 24 fish on a single bait. Like it was mangled beyond recognition, but it was still hanging on the jig head. No super glue, no nothing. We were still catching fish on it. I think I finally retired it after like the 24th. It was just
Wow.
wild. It's wild.
It's- So I guess speaking of the super glue and so on and so forth, are you super gluing these on like on their jig heads or so on and so forth? Like, how would you recommend rigging the baits?
You can super glue them. Go ahead and do it if that's your thing. If I get it, and not everybody can afford to buy a million baits at a time, so they have to kind of conserve money and conserve baits. So hey, super glue them. Do it. I don't. I feel that if I put the baits on the jig head and let them sit there for about an hour, the ingredients in my plastic it doesn't adhere to the metal, but it sticks to the metal. And I feel that when you super glue them, you're kind of stuck. So if I don't want to change jig heads out, I just pull the bait off. Guys who super glue the baits are going to have to ruin the bait if they're down to their last jig head and they want to change colors. So it's more of like it's just a, a quicker bait change for me to not super glue them.
Right.
But I know most guys do, and if that's your thing, more power to you. You got to do what you got to do when you're fishing. I don't
Yep.
I don't hate either way.
It's more personal preference at that point, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
So what are some of the colors that you do offer in the GTEO?
So right now I have my staples. I have a magic white. It's almost like a translucent. Where if you look at that in the sun, you don't know what color it is. Whether it's purple, it's blue, it's yellow, it's green, it's white. It's like a kaleidoscope. And in the water, it makes it 10 times more vibrant. I've got a Barbie pink that's got a pinkish back, pretty bright pink back with like a bluish white belly. Um, I've got a black sapphire that was my like original color that I ever made. That's got a dark black back with a hint of sapphire blue in the back, with the belly that's a sapphire belly. When you look at it facing the sun, and when you turn away from the light, it turns a really deep violet. That last year was probably the number one bait as far as catching fish. Then I have call it a plurple. It's got a dark purple back with a light purple belly. As far as number of fish, that caught probably 10 to 1 the most fish out of any color that I have. I think most guys bought the purple, even though I think the black sapphire caught the most fish. Most guys bought the purple, and I think that's why the number of fish caught were a little bit skewed. Then I have a sapphire green, or sorry, a shimmering eel, which is like a natural green eel, green back with a golden white belly. And I had a chartreuse. I 86 that for the year. Just didn't look natural. Kind of didn't fit in with my color lines. I'm probably going to bring it back with the 9.5 inch eel. I'm just going to tweak it a little bit to make it a little bit nicer. And then for this year, it just came out about 2 weeks ago. Is a midnight calamari. It's a blackish, reddish back with a reddish, almost a reddish violet belly. Um, that's actually the only fish I've been catching. The only bait I've been catching fish on the Hudson River with. Actually, of all the colors I have is that new one.
Is that
Um,
because of the murky water, you think?
no, I mean I just think I've been using it more than the others. So
Oh,
to be
because you
honest,
want to use it, right?
just because yeah, I
It's
needed
a new
pictures of
color.
it, and I just wanted to make sure it worked. And I had some success with it last year. I actually made that color for a couple of customers, and they slayed on them up in like the Boston area.
Mhm.
So, and I actually used some for myself. I didn't only make them for them. I actually made them for me too. But we caught a lot of fish on them last year. I just wanted to make sure that they caught fish other places than Long Island Sound. Um, but yeah, dude, I'm excited for this year. It should be awesome.
Hell yeah, man. So
Uh,
so when you're going out fishing, right? So let's get more into some of the technical stuff, just kind of so other people understand, newer guys and everything like that that
Yep.
might pick it up and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So like what kind of things are you looking for like when you're going out fishing and you're going to try and find areas to fish? Like say in the sound. Like what would you look for? Like different reefs, like on different structure, what kind of like different depths and stuff that you would be looking for to try and fish?
Right. So the first thing I always check religiously is the weather. Got to look for the wind and rain. The second thing I check is the tides. Got to know what your highs and lows, your ebbs, your slacks, your floods, um, and then I'm looking to see what time of year it is. If it's early summer, I'm looking at islands, the reefs close to shore, checking the reports on bait fish. All your local tackle shops will give you your reports if there's bunker in, if there's any sort of bait fish around, and kind of match your colors to whatever bait fish you think is around. Sorry. And then yeah, depending on the moon, if it's a full moon tide, you're gonna have to use heavier gear, heavier jig heads. Um, and then depending if we're gonna be in shallow, if we're gonna be on a reef, if we're gonna be in the rocks, you got to match your gear. You need your 40-pound braid, your 30 to 50-pound fluoros. Um, kind of go from there and play it by ear. And then you see what the fish want once you make a few casts. If they want a fast retrieve, a slow retrieve, a deeper retrieve, a shallower retrieve.
And it's just all about just changing it up and doing different tactics
Yeah.
to see what they like,
So
man.
right. So until I catch a fish, no cast is the same. I don't twitch it the same. I don't retrieve it the same speed. Always slower, sometimes faster. You find out what they want. You key in on how they want to present it, and you just take advantage of it.
Now, when you had reference back to, like, the moons and stuff, does that play a
Yep.
big part in what goes on out there?
Yes and no. You got your pros who say that you're only going to catch big fish on the moon tide. You got other pros who say you're going to catch big fish on no tide. I haven't found a rhyme or reason. I mean, I've caught 50 pounders with no moon, new moon, full moon, raining, 5 foot waves, no waves. Like I'm sure there's a reason for everything, but get out there and fish. Honestly,
Mhm.
you can log all you want, but if you're not out there, you're not going to catch a fish. So say
Right.
you look back at your log on May 15th, right? You caught a 50-pound fish and you only go out that May 15th, but you don't go out May 16th because you didn't catch anything the year prior. Your chances are zero if if you don't get out there.
So when you mean
So
by log, what do you mean by log? Because a lot of people may not understand what that's all about. Us hardcore fishermen are totally different, but a lot of people that may be getting into it don't understand what that means.
Someone like me really doesn't understand anything about the deep sea world, so I'm just taking all this in.
So a lot of guys, they'll take a book and every time they catch a fish, they'll mark the time, the date, the weight of the fish, the size of the fish, the tide, how fast they're moving, the weather conditions, what bait was around, what's in the fish's belly if they keep it and cut it open, um, all factors. If it was a full moon, if it was a new moon, every little detail that they think will help them the next time out. You know, um, I keep my logs in my head. I've never written anything down.
Mhm.
Um, I know some guys may frown upon that. I don't really. I fish to fish. I don't fish to for statistics, man. I just fish every day that I can, and if I catch them, I catch them. I don't need to look back on last year to see where I caught it, how I caught it, what the moon was. I'm just out there to fish. I don't keep records. I don't keep logs. I don't keep anything like that. But a lot of guys do. It helps a lot of guys. A lot of guys don't have a lot of free time. So if it helps them on a weekend, on like a certain weekend, then they need that. But for guys who are out there every single day, you're out there because you love it. I don't like to log anything.
Right, and I'm with you on that, man, because everything's kind of mental. But the difference is that we have a big network of people to be able to talk to
Right,
find out what's going on. And a lot of people don't, you know. But it,
right,
it is it is important to kind of log and or even keep a mental log of, you know, like on this tide was good with this moon, or, you know, I mean, tide is a huge thing that you're very dependent on the tide, man.
right.
The water's got to be moving to be able to catch fish,
Eh,
and a lot of people just don't understand that.
I could see if you were mostly a daytime fisherman, you'd want to keep one to help you out. But like we stated earlier, if you're out there at night, the chances are you're going to catch something. You know, you just gotta know where the structure is. You gotta know what where the tide is at, and it's nighttime, man. Like we go fishing at nighttime for a reason because it's the big fish feed at night, and you want to get on the biggest fish you can. So it's kind of different to keep a log at night versus daytime, I think. And I'm probably gonna
And
catch some heat for saying that, but
oh, yeah.
it is it is what it is, bro.
But, I mean, when we're fishing in the shallows, I mean, the big fish move into the shallows at night, man, you know, and
Yes,
you're
they do.
fishing those big structures on the shallower sides of the reefs, on the shallow sides of the rock islands, the whatever
Right.
we're fishing, the big fish move into those things, and I
Yep.
don't think, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think that a log would help you out, because you don't those fish don't that's not a constant flow of a fit where the fish are gonna be. You know,
Right.
that changes from time to time to time. It's not
Having
like
known
fishing a big area.
having known where you fish, me and you fish the same spots. Sometimes you have an hour window, sometimes you have a 10-minute window, and it shuts down. But
Mhm.
there's no rhyme or reason to when. Sometimes it's at the top of the tide. Sometimes it's an hour after the tide. Sometimes it's at dead low. There's no rhyme or reason sometimes why these fish do what they do.
You just have to be there, man. You gotta be at
Yeah.
the right place at the right time. I mean, that's with
Right.
anything in the outdoors.
Yeah.
It's just the right place at the right time, and
Yep.
you're not gonna win if you don't play.
Right.
You're just gonna spend, you know, you gotta put your time in, you gotta move around, you gotta find that structure. I mean, you know, Navionics is a good tool for that. It's a good tool to look at the contour lines, look at the different areas, that will hold up
Structure.
fish.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and
Absolutely.
you're just using that tide to your advantage. So, like, if you're looking on a contour line or a structure and you're seeing the tide, you know, if it's on an incoming tide and you're coming up the shallow to the deep, or the deep to the shallow, you know, and you're drifting up those areas, that's where those fish are holding up. They're looking for the tide coming over their back. They're ambush fish. So,
Yep.
especially stripers, for example, they're ambush fish. They're gonna sit there. They're gonna wait for the bait to go over the top of them, the tide to come by, and they're gonna. So you have to look at the contour lines and those structures, and that's how you know, you want to go with the bait is going, obviously,
Right.
um,
Yep.
and that's how you're gonna catch fish there.
Yeah. And not for nothing, them big fish, they're lazy, bro. They want the biggest bait in their mouth, doing the least amount of work to get it. And I think that's why these baits work so well because they're huge. They look big to a fish, and it's sitting right in front of their mouth. Any big fish is not going to say no to something that big sitting in front of its mouth. It's just going to eat it.
And I
You
think a
know,
lot of people are kind of, you know, and that's another thing going into it, man. Like these the baits like this, people are probably really skeptical in using them because they're so big.
right? But you saw what happened with me and you. There were ballyhoo and half beaks jumping into the boat that were a foot long, getting away from the stripers that were trying to chase them. Remember that night they were
Oh
beaching
yeah.
themselves on the boat. They were flying out of the boat, landing in the boat, and they were 12, 13, 15 inches long, and the fish suck
Mhm.
them down like nothing. You know, how many times do you stick your whole entire forearm down a fish's mouth to get a hook out?
Right.
Like these 40-pound fish, even a 30-pound fish, you're able to fit your whole forearm down their mouth.
Even a 20
So
pound fish.
right. So I don't understand why I don't want to single out the Northeast, but the Northeast guys, they're scared of throwing something bigger than 9 inches.
Right.
A ton of guys, they're just, I don't know if they've never done it or they're so used to catching smaller fish that they just go to their go-to baits. Like you got to leave your comfort zone sometime. And I appreciate all the guys that did that last year and kind of helped me make a name for the business because without them, dude, I would be nothing. But so many people just Said, I guess I'll try it. I guess I'll try it. And, I got so many personal bests last year from customers. I had over 150 people catch the personal best on a 13.5-inch bait that they've never used anything half that size before. So I'm just trying to get that message out to all these guys that, a big bait will catch you a big fish. Hell, a big bait. I've gotten 18-inch stripers on my 13.5-inch. I got
Mhm.
pictures from dudes catching 15-inch stripers. It's crazy. Bass are just so they're so what's the word I'm trying to think? They'll eat anything. If
They're
they
just
think it'll fit
aggressive.
in their mouth,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll eat it. They'll or try to eat it.
It's and that's kind of where I was going is that like, using these baits, like I think a lot of people are skeptical on it, but to be honest with you, they don't care. They're gonna
Yeah,
suck it up, man. Like
yeah,
look at the bunker. Look at I mean, even a herring,
yeah,
anything that you're looking at. I mean, look at the mackerel, at the porgy. I mean, we're trying to catch, guys that are live lining some of these things like porgies, bunkers, so on and so forth. You're looking for the smaller ones. Why?
yeah,
The norm is big. That's what
yeah,
swims in the ocean is big. They're gonna take it down, man. They don't care. A 28-inch fish will take it down. So
yeah. Last year we had a 46-inch striper with a 4-pound sea bass stuck in its mouth. It was just,
wow.
dude, like the tail was sticking out of the gullet, and he ate the 13.5-inch eel. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Like it's just these fish will eat anything they think will fit in their mouth. Hell, lobsters. We've seen lobsters in their mouth, crab, like stuff that should be nowhere near a fish's mouth, and they're just eating it.
I mean, look, they eat. Like you look at the guys that live line like sundials or
Yeah,
some of these other bigger
three
baits.
foot, 3 foot, 5 pound eels. I've seen that
Yeah.
before, and they're catching huge fish.
Well, look at Joe for example. What he fishes.
Yeah,
He fishes giant eels, some of the biggest eels I've ever seen in my life.
yep,
It's like, they're as round as a baseball,
yeah,
and they're fishing them at the tides at Block Island and catching
yeah,
fish on them. I mean, that's why he's putting 60 pounders in the boat. It is what
right,
it is.
yep,
So you just can't be, and that's where I was just going with it, man. Like some of the baits, like if you see them in the bait in the tackle shop, you're kind of skeptical about it. But in all honesty, man, like that's nothing. You shouldn't
yeah,
have to be making a smaller bait because that bait works.
yeah. Trust me, I looked into making something bigger, longer, thicker, but I'd have to charge $50 a bait if it got any bigger, And I wanted to keep the price down somewhat, and
I
it's
mean,
just tough, you know.
look at some of the custom baits that you've made that we've played around with before.
Oh, monsters!
You know what I'm saying?
7 ounce baits getting, yeah, I know, man. It's wild.
Well, look, even your snake. Remember that snake thing that you tried making?
That was the 3 feet long.
Yeah. But it's, big fish, big baits is big fish, man, and that's what it's all about?
Yeah. What I figured out though is that most of these fish, so we actually live lined a whole bunch of needlefish last year, and we live lined some eels just to kind of make some comparisons. So when the stripers were hitting the live eels, you know how they play with them sometimes? They like
Mhm.
tap it, and then swallow it. We actually got into a school of needles, and we had 7 live needles. And if I can tell you that the bass hit the needles like they do the GT eels, that's why I think the fish hit them so hard, bro. Like they were hitting the needlefish just the same way. You know how
Wow.
if they just like smack it, there's no playing around, they just engulf it. So I'm almost thinking that out in deeper water, these bigger stripers are thinking it's needles, and they think they have to act fast, which is why they just murder the hell out of these baits.
Because they're a fast swimming bait.
Right, and they know that they have one shot. You know, so
That makes
that's
that
what I'm
makes
thinking.
absolute perfect
Yeah,
sense. And I
it
mean,
does.
I know we're talking about striped bass for these with these baits, but these baits can be used across the board, like you were saying. I mean, they're catching billfish on them.
Yeah,
They're
so we
catching
had some
tuna on
guys.
them.
Yeah, we had about a half a dozen guys last year exclusively use them on their boats. We had 2 white marlin that were brought up to the boat. One got loose before the picture. There's a video on my Instagram. He had one of the magic white baits hanging out of his mouth. It was a nice white marlin, gorgeous fish. And then a third white marlin that was caught but got dropped at the leader. I had an Instagram customer send me They caught like 7 big eye tuna. They had a couple bluefins, and I had a guy actually from South America send me a picture of a big yellowfin he caught on them. So it's exciting, man. And then you got my buddy Josh Najem there from New Hampshire. He basically spends his winters in Florida, and he mopped up with the tarpon this past winter, man. He caught so many 100-pound tarpon on that green eel that he just stopped sending pictures because he's literally had like 50 pictures of 100-pound tarpon just sucking these things down.
Wow, that's badass.
It's wild. We had grouper caught. We've had snook. I mean, just you name it. There's been a fish caught on them. It's just it's
Anything on
wild.
the freshwater side?
Uh, Actually, that you asked about today, I had my 9-inch Mondo, the little prototype split tail, and we were striper fishing. I caught a smallmouth bass. It's like a 2.5-pound smallmouth, 9-inch bait.
Now
We were
you're
just
talking my
laughing.
language. That I understand.
Yeah, and that's not the first time. I guess last year, my buddy Justin, Justin Solak, he actually caught a
Oh,
big
yep.
smallmouth on that same bait on the freaking 9-inch prototype. So it's nuts, man. It's nuts.
I'll have to get
So
some
I
of
got to.
those and put them in the river down here and see what we can do with
Oh
them.
yeah, and if you wait a few more weeks, I got a couple smaller paddle tails coming. I got an 8-inch paddle tail and a 5.5-inch paddle tail. It's all gonna be them color changing baits too, man. Those
That
things should
actually sounds like
fresh.
a blast.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So Steven's down on the Shenandoah where they have big muskies, big catfish, and giant smallies.
Oh,
So
I'm jealous. You gotta
yeah,
have us down there sometime, bro.
Dude,
I just came back from there.
anytime.
Oh,
Trev knows we got a place for you.
It's
nice.
beautiful down there, man. The fishing is insane. In the summer, I couldn't even imagine being there in the summer. So
Well,
I
you'll
wanna,
get
I wanna, I
you'll
wanna catch me a 60-inch muskie, man.
yeah.
That's
well,
what I'm down for.
I've got the launch right where they're at. Just go up and down till you get them.
Nice, nice, nice. I forgot to mention the 9.5-inch GT that I got coming out. It's probably in about 2 weeks away. I um I specifically tweaked it for the trolling guys for tuna. So it's a little bit fatter. It's definitely rounder at the head. Like the first 3 inches of bait, it's thick. Um, Guys the only complaints they had about trolling the 13.5 GTs. They were a little thin for trolling. I guess a lot of guys using big 10 owner tuna hooks when they're trolling or jigging. So I cater to them. There's no hook slot. It's got a pretty fat belly and it tapers down just like my 13.5, but it's just got a lot more meat. So these guys will be able to troll them with no worries about splitting them or breaking them or nothing like that.
That's awesome. Yeah,
And
see, and you're out there talking to these people and using it, so you're changing these things
yeah,
constantly for people. So it's
yep,
not like, you're not
yep,
just throwing them to the wolves. Like, we won't go there, but there's a lot of companies out there that don't do that. They just keep throwing it
yep,
out there, and that product,
yep.
that dollar bill just keeps, on that circulating door.
Yeah, it seems it's almost like getting stale. Like these guys are content just making the same thing they've made year after year. Just and if they do make it new, it's just a new name, same bait, something like say a different color. They don't actually try to make the bait better or different or last longer or swim better. They just I don't know. I
It's
don't run their business, so I can't really attest to them. But I'm never happy with my own stuff. It could be perfect, and I'm still not happy with it. I'm always going to try to find a way to make it better.
Well, you just wanna keep being innovative in the plastic field, man, because we've been throwing the same baits from the same companies for how many years now, and nothing's changed,
Nope.
and then, you say like, a new thing comes out, like, just like the GT Eels, they come out, they slam fish.
Yeah.
Something else comes out, like, look at the docks, for example. The dock comes out, and what happens with the dock? They smash fish on it, so
Right, and
why
now
wouldn't
they're 3 times the original cost, and
Mhm.
everybody and their mother wants 10 of them.
Yep.
Um,
So you gotta keep changing it, man. That's what keeps it going and growing?
yeah, absolutely,
So
100%, man.
so I mean, you fish tournaments with these baits, or do you have any tournaments coming up this year?
Yeah, the first one to sign up to actually do a tournament was Big Doug's tournament. Out, I think he's going to do it in July this year, end of July, middle of July. I actually won that tournament a couple years back using just plastics. A couple guys came in second place, and then what other tournament did I did? I was invited to the Block Island Invitational Tournament a couple summers ago as well.
which is a
But
pretty
yeah,
big
so
tournament.
it's they only invited 15 boats, so it's
But
actually pretty. It was a pretty private tournament, but it was a pretty big tournament. Yeah, it's a pretty well known tournament.
isn't it big name tournament more or less is where I was going?
Yeah, you had Meyerson and the guy who caught the world record, the Rhode Island record bass. I forgot his name, but we got some crappy weather that year, and I was with Joe Apanowicz, and we gave it our best, man. We gave it our best, and we came up short. But there's nothing you can do when there's 8 foot waves and you're in a 21-foot boat.
Oh, no.
Kind of
That's
stuck.
that's death out there.
They actually ended up calling the tournament early. They called it early Sunday morning, and it should have gone on until like Sunday afternoon. But it was a hurricane watch, and the wind was 50 miles an hour. But yeah, so this year the only tournament that I'm signed up for right now is Big Doug's. He actually benefits the Shoreline Soup Kitchens and Pantries in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. All the proceeds that are raised for that tournament go to the Shoreline Soup Kitchen. So it's a pretty awesome cause there that he's been doing. He's been doing it for about three. I think this is his fourth year now doing it, and he's raised somewhere in the neighborhood of like $7,000 to $10,000 for them.
Wow.
So I signed up to do the tournament. I actually signed up as the major sponsor for the tournament. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and it's going to be a good year, man. Once this whole pandemic stuff blows through, it should actually end up being a really, really good year.
Yeah, everybody's on the itch to get out and do it, so it's gonna be a good year
Yeah,
for all of us, and actually, it's gonna keep a lot of the big what do you think do you think that it's gonna be a big damper with the new regulations? I mean, I know that our the tri-state area, or the quad area, um, has these new regulations with the bass.
you know, it might be a damper for the charter guys,
Mhm.
um, but for the recreational angler, I don't think it's going to be an issue one bit. Um, Most of these guys are going out there because they work 100 hours during the week and they just want to get out on the boat, relax, have their man time, catch some fish. Whether it's a striper or a sea bass or a bluefish, they just want to get a bend in the rod, dude. So I don't think it's going to hurt the recreational angler. It is going to hurt the commercial guys just a bit, the charter captains who rely on, trophy fish for their customers. Um, Hopefully they can adapt. There's plenty of sea bass out there, and
They're
I don't
invasive.
know. They are, they are. But on the bright side, I think they're the best tasting fish in the sound by far and away. You
And
know?
not even, just to go down that road real quick, 20 years ago, nobody even wanted a sea bass. They're like, "What is
No,
that? That's
right?
garbage. Why would you
Not
want that?" And now
yeah,
it's like the
no,
most sought after fish ever.
right. Because now it's worth $16 a pound retail. So of course everybody and their mother's gonna want to try to
It's
get
like
one.
the lobsters from back in the day
Yep.
that were only for the
They were.
peasants.
Yep. Lobsters were trash fish that ate the bottom. They ate the sediment. They ate the dead, nasty stuff on the bottom, and now they're freaking $20 a lobster. You
It's
know?
crazy. Yeah. But I think that you're right, man. As far as the new regulations with the striped bass and stuff, I think it's not really going to affect the guys, the hardcore guys. It's not going to affect because they don't like killing big fish, anyways. It's not
Right.
going to affect the recreational guys because they just want to bend a rod and have a good time. The only people
Yep.
that are really going to be affected by it, honestly, is the commercial guys. I don't even think that your charter captains are going to be affected by it because a lot of people that are going out are those same recreational people that are going out and they just want to go out and have a good time. The
Right.
guys that maybe were known for big fish, they can still go catch big fish, but they're just not able to keep them.
Right.
I think
I just don't see how the big head boats are going to be able to safely release a 40 or 50 pound fish that come up over the rails. Like, how do they get a big fish that size and just release it safely? I think it's going to be tough for them.
well, the biggest problem, honestly, I mean, to be honest with you, Gabe, is that a big fish like that gets gaffed.
Right.
You can't
Right.
even get it over. What are you gonna do? You're gonna net at Block Island, Montauk, or the race or anywhere else? You're gonna put a net in the water to try and get a 40-pound bass over the side of the rail?
Yeah. So what are they
No.
going to do now? Now that they can't, like, how is that going to play out?
How do you
That's
explain to a customer that you can't keep a 40-pound bass, that we gotta cut your line, we can't put it in the
yeah,
boat?
state law or
You know what I'm
whatever.
saying?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's the same as fishing federal waters, and when a striper comes up that we can't even that we can't keep it and gotta return it, and you gotta argue with the customer because, we can't have a striper in federal waters when you're outside the
Right.
EEZ,
Right.
you know? But it is
Yep.
what it is, man. These are the regulations, and in 10 years, hopefully, we don't have to worry about those things when the population's back where it needs to be.
Yeah. I guess that's where you kind of got to be upfront with the customer before you even go out. Say, listen, here's the new laws, here's the new changes, here's what we can and can't do. And I know a couple charter guys last year that had trouble. They were pretty adamant beforehand that these were the laws and regulations, and their customers, once they got that big fish on the boat, they didn't want to return it. And some of these guys I know had they got pissed off at their clients. They didn't, physically get mad, but they ended up calling me afterwards saying they were, kind of mad that these guys took it upon their own hands and killed the fish on purpose. So like, what do you do then? Like,
Right.
you're just kind of handcuffed and kind of like these customers don't realize that it's your license, it's your captain's license on the line. It's not a cheap license to get. It's not you need to study, you have a lot of man hours, and it's basically your own livelihood that's at stake because one customer wants to kill a big fish and he knew beforehand he wasn't supposed to. So
So
like,
I know,
where's the
like, and
common ground?
right, and that's and then it's very tough, and it's a hard line to cross. I mean, I know, like, in our instance, like black sea bass. So, for example, they have to be 15 inches.
Yeah,
Um, and a lot of people will come onto the boat, and we tell them the regulations in the beginning. Porgies are 9, you can keep 30, and then it goes to 50, and then sea bass is, 3 at 15, and then 5 at 15, or whatever it
yeah,
is, right? And, if they you can be told, I can tell them a million and one times, this is the regulation, but it's really, honestly, it's on that person. If they
right,
keep that fish, that's on them. It's not we're not the law. We're just there to advise the law, and whatever you wanna do with it is fine. We ended up getting raided. Um, Somebody had called in, a customer, because they were sick and tired of us telling people that they couldn't keep short fish, and they kept them. And they ended up, dude, there was like 7 or 8 wardens that showed up at the dock at the time and jumped on it like it was SWAT, like they were doing a drug bust. They went through
wow.
everyone's coolers, they went through everybody's everything, and they ended up catching a ton of people with short fish, and it was on them, you know?
Right now, how did that work? Because technically, their fishing license, they don't need one because they're under your fishing license. So how did that play out?
So technically, we hold the license, we hold you know the commercial fishing part of it, but from what we were told, as long as we advise them what the regulations are, they have to follow the regulations while they're on the boat. um you know I don't know how to explain it, but they're free to do with whatever they want. Like I said, they can, if they keep the fish, that's on them. We can only advise it. It is under us, but it's really not when you're keeping the possession of fish, because we can't control what they're doing.
Right,
As long as we're upfront and we're not allowing them to do such a thing, and we tell them that they can't, we can't tell them what they can and can't do. We're not the law. But it
right,
is on them at that point. Um, where a lot of you see a lot of people that had problems in the past, some of the charter boats, they were allowing them to keep those fish. And it was justified that they were allowed to keep those fish. They were told that they could keep those fish. And also, like, one of the big head boats that I know of, like out of New York, they left the coolers on the boat, and left the boat. So who else are they going to charge? They're going to charge
right,
the captain. But
right.
if you have them in your possession, they're your fish, and that is what it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. So they ended up writing all these people all kinds of tickets, and Then when they got on the boat, they told, we were like, dude, listen, there's rulers every 5 feet. We hand out personal rulers to everybody. I went and got paint sticks and we marked them 9, 15, and 19 for a fluke. And then we just handed them out to every customer. So it's not like we weren't doing our due diligence and whatever they
Right.
did was on them,
Right.
It's crazy how it goes, man, especially federally. That's when it starts getting kind of crazy, but
Yeah, I don't know why they. I mean, I'm gonna catch flack for saying it, but if they're just gonna designate these fish as game fish, they should just do it. You know, they should just do it. If they're in that much of a decline as all these guys are saying, then put the sport fish tag on them.
right.
And throw them back. Whatever. Put a slot limit like there is now, and just protect them. If you're just gonna half-ass it, then keep it open. There's just no rhyme or reason that these guys are doing it. Obviously, the numbers. Some people say they're skewed. They're not right. There's more fish than there supposedly are, which are the boat guys, and then you got the shore guys who's saying, "Oh no, we haven't caught a fish in however many years." The big fish aren't here; they're all deep. Blah blah blah. There's never a consistent report of the actual number of fish out. So
And one thing that bothers me about the whole thing is like this is you look at the guys that are spearfishing, right?
yeah,
And ever see their videos and how many thousands of fish they see when they're spearfishing?
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Just because you can't catch them, that doesn't mean that they're not there,
right.
you
You
know?
know, we're on the boat every day, so we see the amount of fish that are out there every
Yes.
day. We're out there day in and day out. All these guys like to claim that we're fishing the same exact spot every day. We're not. We're not even close. There's fish close to shore. There's fish far out from shore. Hell, there's fish out in the canyons now, supposedly. Like nobody can actually sit there and say with a straight face that they know the exact number of fish that's out there. So there's the truth, there's the made up numbers, and there's the far stories from both sides of the aisle. There's too many fish. There's not enough fish, and then there's the truth. So nobody knows that. Not even the scientists. They can't agree on what's what. So how are we supposed to know? If they're just taking numbers out of thin air, how they count the fish, how they estimate the number of fish killed, how they estimate the number of caught and release fish, that whole mortality rate, that's just a wild number there that they've actually come out with. Like nobody can just settle on anything because nobody knows. So why are we making laws on stuff that's not even factually known?
I
I
totally
just
agree with you. And how many fish are poached?
oh yeah,
And that's, talk about what they should and shouldn't do. I think honestly, some of these winter holdover rivers, they should just make it no
just
striper fishing.
shut them down.
Shut them
Shut
down.
them. You're gonna catch a lot of flack for that. Oh, you used to fish in the winter. Yep, I used to fish in the winter. But you know what? You
I did too.
don't do them. Yeah, you don't do them any good by catching the same fish 10 times over a 3 or 4 month period. You're gonna kill. That fish is gonna grow up. We've seen it stunted. Their mouths are torn apart. They never
Mhm.
heal right. We've seen the same fish caught 30 times. Like come on, just
And
let
9
them
times out
break.
of 10, in that cold water, you're snagging fish. You're not even catching fish, you're
No,
snagging fish.
they eat. Guys have just gotten so good at finding out how to catch them that the slow retrieve, a super light jig head, and a little plastic, and that's all it takes. You put it in their mouth, they're just going to instinctually eat it. Sure, some guys snag them, but these fish, they eat. They have to eat in the winter, or they're going to die. There's
Right.
guys know if it's been warm for a couple days, that third day they're going to be turned on. If it rained a little bit, they're going to be turned on. Like guys know how to get them. But I don't understand how you have fun catching the same fish over and over and over and over and over. I
But
just
those are
don't.
the same guys that bitch about us, you know, killing a 50 incher.
Yeah, true.
But they're doing the same
True.
thing in the winter.
Yep. Yep.
And it is what it is, man. It's a full circle. It's in every industry. It's everywhere. We could go on for days about it, and it drives us nuts.
Yeah. I know. I've talked to and spoke to a lot of guys who won't say it in public that they want to shut it down for the winter, and I'm right there with them. Shut it down. Give the fish a break. Especially now that we know, it was a big taboo thing in the state, and even it still is. They won't officially say that the fish are spawning in our waters, but in June, in July, when you're seeing a million 4-inch stripers, they didn't come up from the Chesapeake at 4 inches. Like they're born right there, man. They're there.
They would have got eaten on their trip up here.
Yeah, seriously, a 4-inch striper didn't come up in the Chesapeake. In billion, not even 4 inches. My buddy had a pod of like 2.5 to 3 inch stripers that they was netting. Not keep. He didn't know what it was. He thought they were big shiners, and he netted them. They're all baby striped, tiny little striped bass. I'm not going to say where because
Right.
place right in Connecticut. You know, just it's phenomenal. And guys are like, oh, they're false spawning, they're this, they're that. Well, that I don't know. We have There's not a lot of habitat in Connecticut for them to spawn, but we have certain places where yes, they're spawning, and yes, there's a ton of fish. You know, and I know why the state is not really admitting it, um, but sooner or later they're going to have to. The fish are moving north. There's more fish in Canada now than ever before. Them stripers are from Newfoundland, like Nova Scotia is getting a huge, like, dude, they're everywhere up north. Everywhere. Maine is getting more fish than they've ever seen. And now they're saying that those Canada fish never leave, that they're there year round, or they go into the ocean up there in the deeper waters, and they come right back into the rivers in the spring. So, who knows the true numbers? Who
And they're
knows?
holding over. That's
Yeah,
amazing that they're doing
yeah,
that, man. That's
yeah,
huge.
yeah.
So, Gabe, we got one question, man. We only ask one serious question here, and that is, what drives the outdoors, man?
What drives the outdoors?
What drives you outdoors?
Oh man, just being out there, dude. I'm at peace with myself when I'm on the water. You don't think of anything else. Just your mind is clean and clear, free of debris. You're just out there. Whether you catch a fish or not, just being out there, and any problems you have are gone when you come back. It's just being at one with nature, dude. You can't beat that at all. You
No,
can't.
not amen on that one,
That's
dude. I
beautiful.
You
totally
can't.
Well, Gabe, we can't thank you enough for joining us. I know
Yeah,
Trev hates these episodes when I just sit back and I make him do the talking.
I do.
But I'm not gonna lie, I'm sitting here like a sponge, just like sucking this all in because a lot of it's new information to me, and it's going to be this way for a lot of the people that listen. So I'm going to say I'm on their side of the fence for this. But
well, I appreciate the hell out of you guys for having me on here, man. I really do.
oh, it's a pleasure. Like I
Awesome.
said, there's a lot of stuff that a lot of people across the country don't know and won't ever get a chance to really experience. So it's good to put it out there. And
A
if
lot
they're
of them.
like, go ahead.
No, 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 no. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if they're anything like me, they're gonna sit and just sponge this in and go, I really want to go try that. So,
Well, you
it,
already got plans to come up here, is what I
oh
was
yeah,
going
yeah,
with.
I get a
Yeah, I was
cheat.
gonna
I
say,
actually get to
you
go do
ever
it.
come up here, dude, we'll get you on some fish. That's without a doubt.
Oh yeah, we'll
Without a
definitely
doubt.
be up there.
And
Yeah.
everybody gets to see all the pictures that I post. A lot of people that follow me and stuff. So and we never really get to talk about it because we're always talking about the hunting side. And now being, the full outdoors side is able to talk with some of my buddies that are fishermen and get to understand that aspect of it. So it's definitely a really cool thing.
For sure. Yeah,
Gabe, can
it's
you just? Oh, go ahead,
go ahead.
Steve.
No,
Sorry.
you're good, man. I was going down the same track as you.
Go ahead. Rip it.
I was just gonna say, hey, just one last quick before we cut off. Tell everybody where they can find you and where they can find your lures.
Cool. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook. They're both Gravity Tackle. Um, I'm in. I'll be in 30 bait shops from Maine to New Jersey in a couple weeks. Gravitytackle.com is a website. If you don't have a bait shop that has my stuff in stock, um, yeah,
Well,
gravitytackle at gmail.com if you have any questions. And I usually answer them pretty fast, man. Day or night, my phone is on, my email's on. I get calls sometimes at 2 a.m. asking me for stuff. And if I'm awake, I'll answer
well, you were the one just telling everybody if you're not fishing at night, you're missing out.
pretty much.
So, catch 22 there.
Yep.
No, that's awesome, and I hope that everybody starts looking into it. I know I'm gonna pick up a few things because I want to throw them in the river and see what happens. So,
Yeah, I was curious about the muskies chasing them big baits there. I think they would suck them down, but I'm not sure.
hey, I'm up for the try. I
Yeah.
mean, whether they do or don't, a day on the water with nothing is better than a day in the office. So,
Yeah.
I think what he's saying is a long weekend on the Shenandoah with some big baits and try and kill some muskies. I think that's what he said, right, Gabe?
I mean, if the invite's there, then
the invite's always there, and you just let me know. We'll
cool.
definitely
Well,
set it up.
you definitely have to come up in a month or so and hang out up here, dude.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
yeah. I definitely plan on getting up there and getting a taste of y'all's world. That's for sure.
You don't want to go back, I'll promise you.
Eh,
At least till
I don't
summer's over.
know.
At
I
least
don't
till
know.
summer's over.
Yeah. Just spend the summers here, the good fishing in the
Yeah.
summer, and then go down there in the fall because the good hunting's
Right.
down there.
Well, you got to hunt down here, so we'll leave that to be said for now.
There you go.
But yeah, again, thanks for joining on. Thanks for giving us your time. I know it's been real tight. We've been trying to set this up for a while, but it's been well worth the conversation. And I hope everybody out listening took something away the way I did, and that you can put some of this stuff to practice or find a reason to go out and make a trip to go do it. And with that being said, we just want to thank you guys for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.